Hello dear students, welcome to your SST class. So we have already finished with the explanation part of lesson number 8 of your history, that is the first empire and Ashoka, in which we have already studied about the three Mauryan rulers, Chandragupta Maurya, his son Bindusara and then his son Ashoka. We have learned about the welfare functions of Ashoka, we have studied about its Dharma, and then we have also studied about the Mauryan administration, about its army and the revenue system. Along with that, we have done some of the reasons why this Mauryan dynasty declined and then which dynasty came into being after that, and we have also studied about the Great Wall of China in else other parts of the world. So this much we have already learned in this chapter, but then there are some multiple choice, you can say objective questions are there in the chapter which we always do while reading the chapter. So we will be taking the reading portion today. So let's start. Just open your books on page number 57. So we are going to start paragraph wise. Just in the first paragraph if any question can be there. An empire is a kingdom which is spread over a vast area. So we have already done the difference between the empire and kingdom. So here is the answer. 2 marks question can be there. What is empire or what is kingdom, or the difference between an entire empire and kingdom? Please mark. An empire is a kingdom which is spread over a vast area and is much larger in size than a kingdom. So we have done that empire is much bigger in size as compared to the kingdom. The ruler of an empire is called an emperor. Again fill up can be there. The first emperor, important question, mark it, of India was Chandragupta Maurya. Fill in the blanks, true or false, multiple choice, any question can be framed. He founded the Dash dynasty. Again important objective question, Mauryan dynasty. So 3 questions to 4 questions can be framed from this paragraph itself. So you need to remember it. Then his empire was spread, where it spread, please underline. We have already done it in the Indo-Gangetic plains, that is modern Bihar, eastern UP and Bengal in the eastern side of the Indian subcontinent, and where it had its capital, again an important question, another question, in the Patliputra, that is modern Patna. So it had its capital in the name of Patliputra, that we call modern Patna. So that was the capital city, right? Then we have sources of Mauryan empire. We have done from where do we get the information that there was such kind of Mauryan empire or Mauryan dynasty. So we have done 4 sources. Let's do. There are 3 main sources of information about the Mauryan empire. Number 1, Arthashastra, please underline, a book written by Kautilya or even Chanakya, you can say. It gives detail. Now what does it tell you? It gives detailed information about the administration of the empire, right? Second is Indica, we have already done. So it was written by Megasthenes and he is a Greek ambassador in Chandragupta's court. It tells us about the city administration and about the social, political and economic conditions at that time that were prevalent during that time. So these are the 2 sources. Now coming to the third one, which is very important, which is related to Ashoka, we have already done. Third are the rock and pillar edicts of Emperor Ashoka. Ashokan edicts inscribed on rocks and stones have been found in large numbers. We have already done this. This is considered as the most reliable source, because it was in the written form. So more reliability was there. Source of information. Coins are also another source of information. So apart from rocks edicts, pillar edicts, we also have the coins on which also we find the inscriptions, right, from the Indian history. So these are the 4 sources in which we find the traces of Mauryan dynasty. Then coming to the individual life of these Mauryan rulers. Number 1, we have Chandragupta Maurya. He reigned from, please underline, period can be asked, 321 to 297 BCE. The first ruler of the Mauryan dynasty was Chandragupta Maurya. Who was Chandragupta Maurya? First ruler of Mauryan dynasty. He built an empire which included, now he expanded his empire to Bihar, parts of Odisha and central India and Bengal. He was supported by his minister. Very important question. Whom was he supported with? He was supported with Chanakya. So he had a leader, his minister, you can say his teacher, we have already done, Chanakya. So he was supported by Chanakya. After defeating Secellus Nicator, a governor appointed by the Greek king Alexander in northwest Chandragupta's empire extended. So his empire not even extended to parts of India but to abroad also, outside India also. And what were the names of those countries? Please underline. That is Afghanistan, Balochistan and areas of the river Indus. So here also he just expanded his empire after defeating the king, which is named as Seleucus Nicator. Then he succeeded in conquering most of the Indian subcontinent and was considered the first unifier of India. So he conquered other parts also, subcontinent area. When he was 42 years old, now when did he renounced his home, his worldly life at the age of 42? This is again an important objective question, one mark question. He gave up his throne in 297 BCE. He became an ascetic, we have already done, a saint who loves now peaceful life, tranquility, life of tranquility in the arms of nature, just united with God. So under the Jain saint, and what was the name of that saint? That is also important, please underline. It is Acharya Bhadrabahu. So he was his guru. He became a saint under his Jain guru and his name is Acharya Bhadrabahu. That is also important. He migrated to South India with him and spent his last days. Now where did he die? Where did he spend his last days? And where did he spend his days with his guru? It is the name of a place is there which is very important. Salikhana at Charavana Belogola in Karnataka. So this you need to learn. Where did he spend his last days along with his guru? So this is the name of a place in Karnataka that you need to learn. One objective question can be taken from here. Right. Then a brief paragraph is there about Chanakya. We have already done. Please underline. Chanakya was a teacher of the first modern emperor Chandragupta. We have already done. Chanakya was a planner. Who was he? A philosopher and an economist of that age. Chanakya wrote two books. We have already studied about that, Arthashastra and what was the name of another book? It was Niti Shastra. So it was his Nitis, you can say his philosophy. What is Niti? Philosophy. So you might have heard about the philosophies or Nitis of Chanakya. He was very philosopher kind of a person, thinker he was, good thinker, renowned thinker he was. Chanakya was also identified by the names of Kautilya and Vishnu Gupta. So other names of Chanakya can also be asked as a separate question. He was also known as Vishnu Gupta and he was also known as Kautilya, right? And the names of the two books, that is Arthashastra and Chanakya Niti, right? Niti Shastra you can say. So these are the two important books that you need to learn. Then something about his son now, Bindusara. We all know Chandragupta Maurya, he was the first ruler, but then when he died in 297 BCE, then his throne was taken over by his son Bindusara. Now who was Bindusara? Let's see what kind of a person he was, whether he also became saint, we have already done it, and where did he extend his empire. Chandragupta was succeeded by his son Bindusara. He was a man of varied interests. Under him, Mauryan empire spread across the Indian subcontinent. Please underline, up to Karnataka. From Indian subcontinent to Karnataka, he spread his empire. Only Kalinga and southernmost parts were outside the modern rule, which were not under Mauryan control. That is, some southern parts of India and obviously Kalinga. Bindusara maintained friendly relations with Hellenic West established by his father. So his father has only established this place, that is Hellenic means Greek West. So he maintained friendly relations with this place. Ambassadors from Syria and Egypt also visited Bindusara's court. So we have a reference of ambassadors coming from Syria and Egypt into his court. So he maintained very good relations with the foreign countries also. Bindusara was not a Jain. Now please underline, he was not a Jain and he believed in the philosophy of what important objective question can be framed from it. So he believed in the philosophy of dash Ajivika. So this can be in the form of fill in the blank, multiple choice or true and false. Right. So this was a brief information about Bindusara. Next, the third ruler, his son. So his throne was taken over by, when he died in 273 BCE by Ashoka. So how Kalinga war is related to Ashoka, how did it bring it change in his life, what were his principles, what do you mean by Dhamma, all this we are going to discuss under Ashoka right now. So let's see. First of all, just mark the period from when did it start its rule, from 273 when his father died and he continued up till 232 BCE. Ashoka was the most famous modern ruler. He was the first ruler who had tried to take his message to the people through inscriptions, and that is why his inscriptions on the rocks and pillars, his edicts are that very important, because he was the first ruler who could teach people, who could spread his religious teachings amongst the people just because of these inscriptions on rocks and pillars, his edicts. That is why he is important first modern ruler. Ashoka gave up war in favor of peace and tolerance. After seeing the bloodshed we have done in the war of Kalinga, he has just changed his mind and he just opted the philosophy of tolerance, ahimsa, non-violence and kindness towards others. And he called all the people as people of God. Ashoka reigned over most parts of present-day India. After a number of military conquests, his empire stretched from now. What were the regions where he has conquered? He has built his empire, just underline, Pakistan and Afghanistan in the west, to the present-day Bangladesh and Assam in the east, and as far as northern Kerala and Andhra Pradesh. These are the various parts inside India that he has conquered apart from Pakistan and Afghanistan in the west. Then Ashoka conquered the kingdom named Kalinga. That is why he is so famous, because he even conquered Kalinga, which no other Mauryan ruler had tried to conquer, which none of his ancestors could have done. He became a Buddhist after seeing the deaths and destruction caused by Kalinga war. So this war, Kalinga, it brings a drastic change in his personality. He tries to give up war and he opts the path of a Buddhist, right? Okay. Then there are two multiple choice questions. Let's do it. Chandragupta was succeeded by his son, obviously, Ashoka, Chandragupta or Bindusara. So he was succeeded by his son, Bindusara. That is option number C according to your books. Then after the dash, Ashoka became a Buddhist. After the Gilgiha war, after the World War, or after the Kalinga war. So he became Buddhist only after the Kalinga war, and that is option number A according to your books, right? So this was something about Ashoka. Then Kalinga war, when did it begin? A separate question can be asked, you should know it. So it began in the year 261 BCE. This you need to learn. The Mauryan Empire was at its peak when Ashoka became the emperor, but Kalinga was the only kingdom which was not under the Mauryan control. So it was the only separate kingdom which had its own administration, which was not under any Mauryan control. Kalinga was an independent kingdom which had a flourishing trade. So why was this Kalinga important? Because it was a famous trade center. And it was an independent kingdom. Which was independent kingdom? A separate question can be again framed from here. So you will write Kalinga, which was not under any Mauryan control, right? It was important. Now why it was important? Again an important question of 2 marks can be framed from here. Please underline, because it controlled the land and sea routes to South India and Southeast Asia. Ashoka fought a war to conquer Kalinga. However, after seeing the violence and the bloodshed, he decided to give up war. So when he saw so much of bloodshed, destruction to life, property, so he just changed his mind. He just left the path of war, violence, and he adopted the path of ahimsa, that is non-violence, and he became a Buddhist, right? So then in this pink paragraph, Ashoka's inscriptions on the Kalinga war, as you can see in the picture, inscriptions of Ashoka are being inscribed, and there is some teaching that he is trying to give to his people through this inscription regarding the Kalinga war. So let's see what it is, and then we will study about his Ashoka's Dhama. So the beloved of the gods, King Piyadasi, conquered the Kalingas 8 years after he had become the king. So he had become the king, he had taken over the throne, but then after 8 years of his reign, then who conquered these Kalingas? The king named as Piyadasi. 150,000 were deported, 100,000 were killed, and many more died from other causes. So much of destruction was there. After the Kalingas had been conquered, beloved of the gods came to feel, now he is referring to as man of God, and came to feel a strong inclination towards the Dhamma, a love for the Dhamma and for the instruction in Dhamma. So he had a deep root in the feeling of Dhamma. Now, beloved of the gods feels deep sadness for having conquered the Kalinga. So he expresses his emotions, expresses his feelings, that how he felt in the war of Kalinga. Indeed, the beloved of the gods is deeply pained by the killing, dying and deportation that takes place when an unconquered country is conquered. So when you are trying to conquer any of the country, then you are not only conquering that kingdom, that empire, that country, but then you are conquering its people, its life, its property through destruction. Not many destructions are there, like liberty of the people is harmed, then life even it is at risk, and then obviously the money, the wealth of that country. Then, but beloved of the gods is pained even more by this. The Brahmanas, the saints and the householders of different religions who live in those countries, who were very respectful to superiors, to mother and to father and to elders, and who have behaved properly and have strong loyalty towards friends, companions, relatives, servants and employees, are injured, killed or separated from their loved ones. So now he starts feeling the pain when he sees that. He says that I'm so much pain, not from the destruction, but basically the loss of life of these Brahmans, these priests, these holy people who are separated from their loved ones, be it their friends, companions, family members, relatives. So many other persons are involved or engaged with them, but then they are separated for the entire life from their loved ones, and this is really very painful. Even those who are not affected by all, because this suffer, then they see friends, companions and relatives affected. These misfortunes befall all as a result of war, and this pains beloved of the God. So he says that all these are affected, and those who are not even being affected, even if they are paid, then it causes the pain to this God of man of God, beloved of God. Therefore, the killing, death or deportation of 100 or even 1,000 part of those who died during the contest of the Kalinga now pains beloveds of the gods. So he says that it pains a lot to me. Now, beloved of the gods thinks that even those who do wrong should be forgiven, where forgiveness is possible. So now he has entirely changed his mind. He does not believe in the theory of conquering other kingdoms. He says what is important is forgiveness in life. So whatever be the reason, you should try to forgive all those others, even if they have committed any crime, or if you are even not satisfied with their work, but then you should try to forgive everyone. So forgiveness is the main principle of his Dhamma. Then I think we should stop here, otherwise it will be too much. So many questions have been framed from these 2 pages. So just you go through these 2.5 pages that we have done, and we'll continue with his Dhamma. Then welfare measures are there, then city of Patliputra, then we have army and revenue and decline, and then the Great Wall of China. This we are going to take up in our next video. So what is your homework for today is to read the chapter very nicely, and whatever objective questions we have marked, just try to learn them out. So see you in the next video now, next class. That's all for today. Stay home, stay safe.